with Trig. Welcome to 8.3. Today the problems are all going to be based on two ideas from two important words of the day, which are the word or and the word and. So usually this lesson I'll do it off of the real number of students in our Trig class, about how many boys there are, how many girls there are. But I'm not going to use those numbers this year because we have sort of a messed up class with one boy and then a dominant amount of girls. So I use the chemistry numbers. So in chemistry there's 6 boys, there's 10 girls, and I would ask you to consider, if my job were to pick a boy or a girl, how many ways would I have to do that choosing? I'm going to pick one person, either a boy or a girl. How many options do I have at my disposal? So I'll give you a few seconds to think that over. And the correct answer would be 16 options. Because if we put the boys and the girls and we add them together for the word or, in a chemistry group, if I were going to pick one of you, I would have 16 options to choose from. If I were going to use the word and instead, that means I'm picking 2 people. So if I'm going to pick a boy and I'm going to pick a girl to make a little 2-person team, try to contemplate how many ways I would have to pick a 2-person team if I'm picking a boy and I'm picking a girl, if I have 6 boys and 10 girls to choose from. If we were live and in person, I'd wait it out. People would yell all sorts of things. Sooner or later we come up with the answer. If you want to keep thinking and don't have an answer, pause the video because I'm about to say what the answer is. The answer would be 60. Because for and, we're going to multiply those numbers together. I don't have the patience to list you off all 60 options, but I could pick like Zach and Daisy, Zach and Alyssa, Zach and Nina, Zach and Danielle, Zach and so on. Or I could pick Jesse and all those people, blah, blah, blah. I could pick Cole and all those people, blah, 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 blah. I could pick any boy with any girl, blah, 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 blah. I'd end up with 60 options there. There'd be a lot of them, and I don't have patience to list them all, but I think you get the point. There'd be a lot. Bottom line is, if you see the word or in the homework problems tonight, add some numbers together. If you see the word and, then you're going to multiply some numbers together. And there is a companion note sheet in this, and I always do that boy-girl thing, and I always tell you and is multiply, or is add. And then the notes next say, make up another story. So sometimes we'll do that with group wisdom while I'll just sort of play with you guys and we make up a story together, but you're not here, so let's say we're talking about books and binders. So I know that's not very exciting, but it is what it is. So let's say you have in your locker 6 books for different classes, and you have 8 binders because maybe you have binders for classes you don't have books, I don't know. But we've got 6 books, so we have 8 binders in our locker. So we walk to our locker, and you want to pick a book or a binder, just one item. That's different than if we walk to our locker and we're going to take a book and a binder and take 2 items home, where we're going to kind of match up these things. If you want to test yourself, pause the video a second before I do the answers. The book or binder would be 14 because we're just adding. There's 14 items in your locker. Pick one, just add them together. But if we're going to pick a combo, we could do book 1 with binder 1, book 1 with binder 2, book 1 with binder 3, book 1 with binder 4. There'd be 8 combinations there we could work just by taking that first book. And then the second book could pair off with those. The third book could pair off with those. The fourth, etc., etc. You'd end up with 48 combinations of books and binders. That's the basic theme of today. Obviously, some of these stories are going to get harder than others. Sometimes they won't as obviously use the word and or, and you'll have to maybe think about whether it's an or kind of question or an and kind of question. But I'll step over a column and just sort of keep going. But those are the 2 themes of the day. And is multiply, or is add. So once upon a time, I had a girl for class whose name was Emily Kust, and I used her name that year because it's very convenient because she has no double letters. She has a lot of letters in her name, enough to play around with, but she has no duplication letters, so hers is a good one to use. Like I couldn't use Nina's name, because just in her first name, we have two N's already, and it's a different lesson for a different day when we start to get doubles of items like that. But if we look at the letters in Emily Clift's name from back in the day, I have a series of questions asking you about picking from her name a vowel or a consonant and a consonant and another consonant, building a 2-letter word, building a 3-letter word, building a 9-letter word. So first let's do a count here. So vowel count on her, 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to count the Y, A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y, not today. Consonants, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters total, so that works out. So we're going to be working off the 3s and 6s for a minute. So if you want to figure out what these answers would be on your own to self-test, see if you're getting it, feel free. It's probably a better way to learn. If we were here in class, I'd pause and make you have some think time to do that. You can make your own think time now, see if you can do any of these, and then once you do, check back in and see how you did. Well, vowels or consonants would be an add. 3 plus 6 is 9. Vowel and consonant is a multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. Consonant and another consonant is not 36. If you pause, then you just got surprised. Repause, it is not 36. If you're back from that, I'll tell you it is 30. And if you're still mad, think about it. See if you can come up with a reason why that's 30. And then you can come back again. The reason why that's 30 is 6 times 5, because when you picked the consonant, you did have 6 choices, but you picked it, it's gone, it's no longer a choice. So when you go back in the pool to pick another letter, there aren't 6 anymore to choose from, there's 5. That's about to happen with our 2-letter words as well. For 2-letter words, we are going to come up with 72. If you didn't come up with 72, you could puzzle that out, keep pausing as you like. But the way that came about is 9 times 8. We had 9 letters to choose from to begin with. 3 plus 6, there were 9 total letters. So when you pick that first letter, you have 9. If you're going to pick a word, you need a first letter, and, so multiply, you need a second letter. First letter, there were 9, but you used it up. Second letter, you're only left with 8, so 9 times 8 is 72. If we go to do a 3-letter word, that is going to come out as 504. The way that comes out as 504 would be 9 for the first letter, and the second letter is 8, because you used up a letter, so we're 1 less. And, so multiply again, you need a third letter, which you'd have 7 to choose from. 9 times 8 times 7 is 504. If we want to use up all 9 letters and make a 9-letter word, hesitating for a moment if you're pausing, is 362,880. And I didn't do that in my head. I have this memorized by accident from doing this class too many times. The way that would be produced would be 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Because we need to pick a first letter and a second letter and a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh and an eighth and a ninth. Whew. And multiply that all together. Some of you might be thinking, is there a better way to punch that in? And the answer is yes. There is in your calculator machinery a thing called 9 factorial. And the symbol for factorial is an exclamation point. So if you had your calculator handy, you could go and punch the 9 button, punch the math button, which is below the green button, go over a couple columns to the probability column titled PRB, and you'll see the exclamation point as number 4 in that list. You could hit enter, get back to your main screen, hit enter again, and as I said, it's 362,880, 9 factorial, just how that one is going. Then I'll take a step over another column, nothing really new here, just a different sort of a story. So there are 7 of you, so I used the real number of trig students. There's 7 trig students. And then I did a baseball, softball-ish kind of story. If you want to self-test yourself through these questions that are on your paper, feel free, see if you can do it. Just make sure you're ready for the number of choices to be constantly sometimes decreasing as we go through the story. There's a lot of stuff where it's like going 9, 8, 7. So this trig stuff, you might have some 7, 6, 5 kind of stuff going on. But for the first story, if we're picking a pitcher, you'd have 7 choices because there's 7 of you. Pick somebody. There's 7 options there. Then, if I want a first baseman at that time, after having picked a pitcher, I would only have 6 choices left because the pitcher's already been picked, so there's only 6 of you sitting on a bench. You know, imagine you're sitting on the bench and I'm picking players to go take the field. So I pick a pitcher, there were 7 of you to choose from. One of you's on the field now. I'm looking at the bench, picking a first baseman, there's 6 of you on the field. So if we retread to the beginning of the story and I want to pick a pitcher and a first baseman from scratch, that would be 42. Because I had 7 choices for pitcher and is multiplied 6 choices for my first baseman. Now we'll continue the story from there, not from the beginning. So now I'm looking at the bench, I have a pitcher, I have a first baseman, I'm looking at the bench, and I'm picking somebody, I have 5 choices. Then if I want to retread to the beginning of the story, I want to pick a pitcher and a first baseman and a second baseman, as I just did, but in one big swoop, I'd have 7 times 6 times 5 to come up with 210 ways I could slot those 3 positions. If I want to go back to the beginning with all of you guys on the bench, and I want to pick 5 people out of 7, I'll leave 2 of you sit there, but I'll pick 5 of the people to go take positions. We would go 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3. I'd have to multiply 5 numbers together because I threw 5 of you in the field. So that was 210 so far. So that would get me to 630. That would be a 25-20 total off of that. And then if I wanted to position all 7 players, you would have to go 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And if you did all that, you probably thought, wait a minute, I didn't need to do all that. I had that button. 7 factorial is a quicker way to do that. Do I remember 7 factorial? I think that one's 50-40, 99% sure that's 50-40, but on the 1% chance I'm wrong, let me see. So 7 factorial is 50-40, so score 1 for my memory. I haven't lost it yet. So the homework is on 239. You'd be working 1 to 17. They will get a little bit harder as you go, I do believe. They start off really pretty easy. They have their traditional silly names going here on some of the questions. Calvin Butterball will be back soon. You should be semi-comfortable, maybe, who knows, up until around about 14. Because 14 is like what I just did with the baseball play. And the ones leading up to that are similar in some way to something that I did. 15's a little different, so you may have some struggles as you think that one through. 16's a little different, so that may be those may be Zoom conversations for another day. If you have trouble, email me. 17 is completely different from everything that we did. And what I've always asked people to do on the first day we hit this is just try to read number 17 for yourself. Read the paragraph, read the example they do. Try to do the questions that follow up with it. If you can't do it, we'll Zoom talk about that another day. But 17 is really nothing to do with anything I said on the board. 17 is them inserting their own information in the book. And I would ask you once, try to read it yourself. Use the answers in the back to see if you got the point when you read 17. Well, that's Trig 8.3.